Welcome to Epstein Island, a secluded haven nestled in the Caribbean, once cloaked in opulence but now synonymous with scandal and controversy. Located in the United States Virgin Islands, off the southeastern coast of St. Thomas, this private enclave was a playground reserved for the affluent and influential. Here, the elite gathered to indulge in extravagance, shielded from the scrutiny of the outside world. Lavish parties and decadent feasts painted a facade of paradise, concealing the island's true nature. You see, beneath the facade of paradise lay a darker truth. Behind closed doors, Jeffrey Epstein, the island's infamous owner, orchestrated a web of deception and exploitation, staining the island's pristine reputation. So, who precisely was Jeffrey Epstein? Born and bred in New York City, Epstein was a notorious banker who was accused of sex trafficking and abuse, with many of his victims being young girls. He began his professional career as a teacher at Dalton School. Following his departure from school in 1976, he worked in banking and finance before establishing his own enterprise. Epstein developed an elite social circle and attracted a large number of women and children whom he and his colleagues harmed. However, he used his great fortune and connections to shelter himself from accountability, and the island's idyllic facade served as the perfect mask for his dark intentions. Epstein's Island, Little St. James, served as his personal sanctuary, where he maintained a frequent presence, visiting 2 or 3 times a month, and often staying for extended periods. Former staff members recall an atmosphere of tranquility, with Epstein leisurely strolling around in flip-flops, accompanied by the gentle melodies of meditative music wafting from speakers. Amidst this serene backdrop, women, typically attractive and occasionally alarmingly young, could be seen alongside Epstein or his numerous guests. Some arrived in groups aboard the Lady Ghislaine, a 38-foot boat named after Epstein's longtime associate, Ghislaine Maxwell. Little St. James was staffed by about 70 individuals who kept the island running smoothly. From groundskeepers and gardeners to laundry attendants and on-call boat captains, the staff were clad in black or white polo shirts and bound by ironclad confidentiality agreements. They were instructed to steer clear of Epstein himself and were explicitly barred from entering his 2 main offices, one of which housed a closely guarded steel safe. The island boasted a lavish mansion with an outside terrace linking the master bedroom to the swimming pool, along with a desalination system for fresh water. Satellite photos and videos expose a sprawling estate: terraces, cottages, beach houses, swimming pools, docks, utility buildings, a helipad, a tennis court, slipways, an enclosed lake or lagoon, and mysterious huts, all connected by palm-lined roads where guests were shuttled in golf buggies. Adding to the island's mystique was a bizarre, boxy, blue and white striped structure referred to as a temple. This enigmatic building, encircled by a terrace with a red labyrinth motif, fueled rampant speculation. Theories ranged from it being the entrance to an underground lair, an altar to an Egyptian deity, a burial site for Epstein's parents, or even a place of ritual sexual abuse. However, a Business Insider investigation suggested it was likely Epstein's private study and music room. Now, what really happened on Epstein's Island? The details remain the subject of multiple ongoing court cases, but the accusations are nothing short of shocking. According to a lawsuit filed by Prince Andrew's accuser, Virginia Roberts Giuffre, Little St. James was at the heart of a global grooming scheme. Recruiters working for Epstein allegedly targeted young women, exploiting their vulnerabilities and dazzling them with displays of immense wealth and power. These women were forced to have sex with clients and kept in line with threats and blackmail. The lawsuit portrayed the island as just one node in a vast network. Private flights ferried sex trafficking victims to destinations like London, Paris, Tangier, Granada in Spain, St. Louis, Palm Beach, Atlantic City, and beyond. Giuffre specifically accused Prince Andrew of sexually abusing her on Little St. James when she was 17, an allegation the prince unequivocally denied. In 2022, he agreed to settle the lawsuit out of court for an undisclosed sum, without admitting liability. Now for the million-dollar question. Didn't anyone notice Epstein's alleged sex trafficking? Certainly. Whispers of Epstein's activities circulated from the start. Locals on St. Thomas ominously referred to his private jets as the Lolita Express. Scuba divers near the island were reportedly met by security guards patrolling the waters. Epstein was often transporting around 200 workers daily for his various projects. When he was there, it was to keep to yourself and do your thing, one worker reported. Airport staff on St. Thomas could observe who Epstein was bringing with him. On multiple occasions, I saw Epstein exit his helicopter, stand on the tarmac, and in full view of my tower and board his private jet with children. Female children, a former air traffic controller told Vanity Fair. Another airport staff member who had front row seats to Epstein's unsettling arrivals described what he witnessed, stating, "There'd be girls that looked like they could be in high school. They looked very young. They were always wearing college sweatshirts. It seemed like camouflage. That's the best way to put it. I could see him with my own eyes. I compared it to seeing a serial killer in broad daylight. I called it the face of evil. It was like he was flaunting it." Sometimes the girls carried shopping bags from designer brands such as Gucci and Dior. Miles and Kathy Alexander, who ran the island as managers between 1999 and 2007, also grew suspicious of Epstein's behavior and the involvement of young girls. They described what they witnessed, stating, "They looked like they had stepped out of an underwear catalog. They walked around with very few clothes on or lounged around by the pool with nothing on. It was like that most of the time. I was concerned about their ages. A few of them looked very young, and I couldn't help but wonder if their mothers knew where they were." Miles Alexander added that he had sometimes had to refuse Epstein's requests to smuggle in female guests by boat without logging their names and passport numbers with the government of St. Thomas. The couple's unease grew until they finally quit in 2007. "In our final meeting, Epstein told me I had always been his conscience," Alexander said. "I'm certainly battling with my conscience now." The complaint against Epstein also alleged that Little St. James served as a prison for the victims, with Jeffrey Epstein controlling all communication with the outside world. It said that one 15-year-old tried to escape by swimming, but Epstein organized a search party, recaptured her, and confiscated her passport. "Remember, he owns a whole island," said Attorney General Denise George in 2020. So it wasn't a situation where a child or a young woman would be able to just break away and run down the street to the nearest police station. One alleged victim told CBS News that she had been sexually exploited in Epstein's office in St. Thomas and that he had a gun strapped to the bedpost in his bedroom on Little St. James's. The complaint says Epstein kept a computerized list of underage girls in or near the Virgin Islands who could be brought to the island. But Epstein wasn't alone on his island. His guest list read like a who's who of global elites. It included theoretical physicist Stephen Hawking, Nobel laureate Lawrence Krauss, comedian Chris Tucker, Victoria's Secret magnate Les Wexner, model Naomi Campbell, former Tony Blair aide Lord Peter Mandelson, and Prince Andrew of the United Kingdom. Claims also suggest Bill Clinton was a guest, though he denies ever visiting the island. Donald Trump reportedly flew on one of Epstein's private jets, but it remains unclear if he visited Little St. James. The magician David Copperfield is even said to have proposed to supermodel Claudia Schiffer there. Celebrities like Leonardo DiCaprio, Kate Blanchett, Bruce Willis, and Cameron Diaz were also linked to Jeffrey Epstein's private island, but there is no concrete evidence of their involvement in any illicit activities. Guests would arrive on one of Epstein's Gulfstream jets at Cyril E. King Airport on St. Thomas, in a private area separate from the main runway. From there, they were shuttled to Little St. James on one of Epstein's black helicopters. Now let's talk about when and how Epstein was arrested and charged with juvenile sex trafficking. On July 6, 2019, Epstein was arrested at Teterboro Airport in New Jersey, stepping off a private jet from Paris. Federal agents were waiting for him, ready to bring an end to his years of evading justice. Epstein was charged with federal sex trafficking charges, accused of running a vast network that exploited underage girls. The charges detailed how he lured victims into his orbit with promises of money and opportunities, only to subject them to horrifying sexual exploitation. Epstein's legal team sought to have him released on bail, proposing a bond package that included his Manhattan mansion as collateral and agreeing to house arrest with electronic monitoring. However, the prosecution argued that Epstein was a flight risk, pointing to his vast financial resources, multiple passports, and access to private jets. On the morning of August 10, 2019, Jeffrey Epstein was found dead in his cell at the MCC, an apparent suicide. The circumstances of his death immediately sparked widespread conspiracy theories and allegations of foul play. Epstein had reportedly attempted suicide weeks earlier, leading to his being placed on suicide watch. However, he was later taken off suicide watch, and the MCC failed to properly monitor him in the hours leading up to his death. The official cause of death was ruled to be suicide by hanging by the New York City Medical Examiner. However, Epstein's death did not quell the demand for justice. Many of his victims expressed frustration that they would never see him face a courtroom trial. Epstein's arrest and subsequent death cast a long shadow, leaving a trail of unanswered questions and unresolved legal battles that continue to haunt those involved in the case. And that's a wrap for today's dive into the scandalous world of Jeffrey Epstein and his infamous island. But hey, the intrigue doesn't stop here. If you're hungry for more thrilling content, be sure to check out our video titled the deadliest special force unit in the world. Get ready to uncover the secrets of the most elite and formidable warriors on the planet. Trust us, you won't want to miss it.